Yes, we are live now.
Okay.
Hi, Osinachi. How are you
Hi.
doing?
I'm good. I'm good. And how you doing?
I'm doing amazing. All
Yeah.
right, so hi everyone. I believe you can hear me and you're also able to see me as well. So you're welcome to today's session. And just like the topic is the ultimate guide to acing your AWS certified cloud practitioner examination. So this is the session for that where we are going to be guiding you through it. And we actually have with us the perfect speaker, Osinachi Okpara. Osinachi is an AWS community builder and is also the founder of the cloud, the crowd, the
The cloud
cloud
crowd.
crowd. I was trying to get that right.
Yeah.
The cloud crowd, yes, where
Yeah.
he also aids beginners who are looking forward to becoming cloud engineers. So we have him here. So he has that knowledge and he's with us here to share that experience with us. All right, Osinachi, let's meet you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Yes. Thank you so much. And for that introduction. So yes, as she said, I'm an AWS community builder. Um, I have also written the AWS CCP exam, just so that you know that the person talking to you has also written the exam. It's not someone that is just speaking from non-experience. Yeah, I'm the founder of the Cloud Crowd, but I also founded another community, which is DevOps Conclave. And at DevOps Conclave, what we do is we kind of create a kind of um, environment for people, for DevOps engineers particularly, to come and share ideas, share opportunities, have accountability partners, and stuff like that. Then apart from that, I'm also a trainer and I also do public speaking around cloud engineering and DevOps as well. So yeah, that's basically what I think, and maybe we're not able to mention.
Amazing. Awesome. Awesome. I think it's actually really beautiful to see that people are there to always give back to the community, help beginners who are starting out their cloud career, DevOps career. So it's a very awesome work that you're doing, Sunachi. Well
Yeah,
done.
thank you. You too. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you too. All right. So if you're currently watching the stream right now, let's know where you're joining in from. What's your name? Where are you joining in from? What are your expectations? What are you looking forward to learning? And you can also ask your questions. So feel free if you have questions to ask. Maybe you're currently preparing for the examination, or you are hoping to write the examination maybe next month, 2 months from now, 6 months from now. Whenever it is, feel free to ask your questions if it's not covered in the session. All right, so we are just going to go straight into it. So we'll be looking at the overview of the AWS CCP certification. What is the AWS CCP certification? What is it about? So Osinachi, would you love to take that?
Okay. The exam is basically a foundational exam from the perspective of AWS. They use this as a kind of entry into the entire ecosystem. And I think you just left. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, and you left a little bit and then just go back in.
Yes, don't worry, I'm still here. Just go on. I'm here.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, the AWS Cloud Practitioner exam is a foundational exam, and it's basically for as a means for AWS to kind of use this as an intro into what AWS is, into AWS global infrastructure, into their most basic services, the foundation, like every the most basic things you need to understand about AWS. Um, it's an exam that just tests your understanding of the services and this global infrastructure and does not exactly test your architecture skills. It tests whether you know the particular use cases for particular services and if you can differentiate the use cases for particular services from other services. Because as you might know, AWS has a truckload of services, I think about 200 plus services, and many of them have very will I say, peculiar and specific um, features that sometimes it can be very hard to decipher the differences between some of them. So this certification kind of tests your ability to differentiate those to make those differences. Yeah, that's basically what it is.
All right, great. I think I would love for us to take a step backward a bit, especially for those who are entirely new to cloud that may be watching this session and they are not sure what is AWS, what is cloud, right? I know that you've explained the certification perfectly, but we would love to know what is AWS, what is cloud computing?
Okay, so I think I'll start with cloud computing, so it can kind of give a perspective to why AWS is as big as it is, or why AWS is a company or a CSP, like with regards to cloud computing. So, um, cloud computing is by definition the on-demand access to online resources, basically accessing these resources through the internet, which is why it's online. So anytime you're accessing resources such as documents, um, music, um, pictures, even. So, with an example, I can give an example of something like Google Photos or iCloud. Okay, let's use iCloud as an example. A lot of people have experience with iCloud. Uh, they upload their images, they upload their pictures, they upload their documents. They have a central storage system where all their documents that they don't want, or maybe they want on their device, but they want to have like a backup where it is stored, where it is like stored on the cloud. So that is one use case of the cloud, using the cloud to store your resources such as images, documents, files, and so on. Then we have other use cases for like, with an example of like Spotify. Spotify is a cloud-based platform that allows you to stream music. You don't have to have it on a physical device, but you can stream music from anywhere. You can um, you can have a collection of songs, collections of albums, but you don't have to download any of them. They can be accessed through the internet, and they are hosted on servers that you cannot really see, but you can access them. They are not on your physical device. That's the remarkable aspect of it. So one of the things about cloud is that they enable flexibility of access, ease of access. You don't have to be physically, or the data you are trying to access doesn't have to be physically close to you or on the device that you are currently using for you to be able to compute, cloud computing, for you to be able to compute, or for you to be able to store your data or stuff like that. And that use case is something like Google Docs. With Google Docs or Google Sheets, you can um, type documents, and those documents don't have to be saved on your local device, on your laptop, or on your PC. They are stored on a remote server. If you choose to download them, you can. If you choose to send them to someone else, you can. But because of the cloud, or because of the fact that you're accessing these things through the internet, you can type documents on your laptop and then turn off your laptop, switch on your phone, and still type that document on your mobile phone. So that's one of the beautiful things about cloud. It enables on-demand access. You can access it from anywhere and at any time. And also, one of the most important benefits of the cloud is that, and that's what brings AWS into the conversation, is that they enable you to not just access documents or files or stuff like that. You can access infrastructure through the internet. So AWS is a cloud service provider, which is why I mentioned CSP at the beginning. They are a cloud service provider, meaning they offer what we call infrastructure as a service, which is short formed as IaaS. They offer platform as a service services. Then they also offer software as a service, SaaS, which you probably have heard about before. So companies like Microsoft as well offer SaaS services. They offer platform as a service services like GitHub, like um, so many other services as well. But these services, because of how they are accessed through the internet. So whenever you're able to access stuff like GitHub, GitHub is a remote repository. that you access through the internet. So the um, what makes all these things cloud computing is your resources are hosted not on a physical device, but on a cloud-based server, and you access them through the internet, and they are accessed on demand. So the on-demand part of it is that you can access them almost instantaneously. You don't have to go through the process. Okay, let me start from. Let me just give you a basis. So ordinarily, when companies want to secure servers for their businesses, for their applications, when they want to deploy their applications to their consumers, they have to procure servers, and those servers have to be hosted in their facilities. So, but the process of procurement of those servers and then starting up those servers and then maintaining those servers can be a huge hassle and can be quite expensive. This is what we call capital expenditure. So, capital expenditure is when you is the are the expenses that you accrue based on things like servers and manpower and transportation and all these things just for you to start running. Um, your business. So AWS as a company comes in such a way that it enables you to be able to start up servers almost immediately without having to think so much about without having to think so much about the procurement, about the manpower. So in the case of like having physical servers, you will have to have a lot of let's say engineers, um, operations people, IT operations people. You might need to have database administrators, you might need to have server administrators, network administrators. You might need to have HVAC people that will be taking care of the servers and lots like a lot of manpower, and that can increase the expenditure you need to have to maintain your your infrastructure. But with cloud, you might just need one engineer, one or two, like a team of engineers, just handling the infrastructure as a service, um, infrastructure as a service services that you are accessing through the AWS cloud. So that's one thing that AWS enables. It enables you to create infrastructure or to access infrastructure through the internet. So yeah, that's basically what AWS is. Even though it has other offerings like platform as a service offerings and it has software as a service offerings, but primarily the major offering um, through which other offerings are based upon is infrastructure as a service, and that's what AWS is all about.
Amazing. I love that the explanation you gave is quite detailed, such
Yeah,
that if someone who is not very familiar with cloud listens to you, person at least is able to get some understanding of
yeah,
what cloud is. Right.
yeah,
So thank you for that explanation, Usinachi. So just like Usinachi had mentioned before that the AWS CCP certification is that foundational certification that AWS is offering, right? And that's what we are moving in to talk about more in depth. All right. So the next thing here from the from the order that we have is the exam structure and the content domains. What should one focus on? One who is looking at going to write this exam. What are the different areas that this person should actually focus on? And how is the exam structure like? I think a lot of people are usually scared of exams. So is it 100
yeah.
questions? Is it theory? Is it what exactly is it? So we'd love to hear.
Okay, the exam I think has 65 questions, 50 marked questions, and 50 unmarked questions. 15 unmarked questions, sorry. So the 15 unmarked questions are just like, did I call them ballpark questions? They are just questions to kind of test. I think from AWS, they say that they use it to like test the difficulty of the exam. So if people are not able to like pass those ones, they kind of shuffle those questions and add more or different ones, sorry, to the entire 50 questions, to the entire 65 questions. But primarily, those 50 questions are what you'll be graded on. So if you pass, and truthfully, you can't tell while writing the exam what those 50 questions are going to grade you on will be. But if you have good experience and if you have good understanding of the AWS cloud, you should be able to scale through those questions really well. So yeah, they have 65 questions, and I think you answer them during a duration of I think about 130 minutes. I'm not exactly sure. I can't remember exactly, but I think it's about 130 minutes. Um, yes, so the questions are focused on, I mentioned earlier about like the services, global infrastructure, um, but there are some extra things that people need to be aware of, which is the well architected framework, the AWS well architected framework. People should be quite conversant with that. Understanding the four pillars of the well architected framework. Then some other things like the services, AWS global infrastructure, AWS global infrastructure like their data centers, which they call availability zones. Then the regions, understand the differences between regions and availability zones. Understand the useful, like what the kinds of services that AWS has. So I think AWS has um, primarily compute services, storage services, networking services, database services, security services, um, and so on. And machine learning services, data services as well. So they have a suite of services. They are all their 200 plus services are grouped into these subgroups. So you have to be conversant of what these services are and their functions. I think there is a limited list of the kinds of services you should be aware of. But you will have to check with the documentation of AWS. I think you can visit their official site to check out all the services because it will not really be convenient to mention all of them in this video. Or you can go to aws.amazon.com. I think it should be, yes, then just check on their search bar for cloud certified cloud practitioner exam. It should definitely reroute you to their official certification page. You can get as much information as you need as possible. But basically, you should understand some of the differences between some of the services. Um, and you should understand the peculiarity of some services because sometimes it can be confusing that because some services are almost have the same features as some other services. You have to be very careful about some of their differences. Um, you have to be conscious of what should I say? Yeah, I mentioned the well architected framework. I mentioned the services. I mentioned the global infrastructure. Yes, you also need to understand the benefits of AWS Cloud. Yes, that's something that you should understand. Understand um, the benefits and why they are important. Yes, that is also important too. Why they are important. What's the difference between the old state, like I already mentioned, like when people had to, even though it's not exactly old, people still do that now. But the the situation that was pre-existing before the cloud came into the game, uh, you have to understand why that was or why that is not exactly found looked greatly at, and why the cloud-based system is what AWS is trying to push. Then understand the difference between loosely coupled architecture and tightly coupled architecture. Uh, yeah, there's just so much you need to understand. I'm not trying to say that to like scare anybody, uh, but you just have to understand the full suite, not the full suite, but like a very good amount of AWS services and their particular functions, the well architected framework, the benefits of the cloud, and the global infrastructure of AWS cloud. So yeah, basically that.
All right, and I think I would love to add as well billing, understand billing, pricing,
Mhm.
and their support systems as well.
Yes, support.
Understand their
Yes,
approach to, yeah. Osinachi, you want to add something on that?
yes. Also compliance, like AWS compliance tools. People check for like that your company is meeting up with compliance. Tools like AWS config, tools like there's another one but I can't remember it right now. But compliance tools that you can help companies check for compliance, basically.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so I can see some comments. It's educating, and I just want to encourage you if there are some things you need to take down, just take down some things. Anyways, the video is going to be available after this, so you can always come back to access it. And if you have questions, feel free to ask your questions in the chat. That is why this session is here. So you're not going back and you're still unsure or you're still scared about the exam. One of the goals is that after this session, you're not scared about going to write the certification exam. You're just going all with so much confidence going into it. All right. So the next point here would cover is the study resources and preparation strategies. So how should one prepare for this examination? What are some study resources that they can use to actually aid them in preparing for this examination?
Okay, so um, I would say people study differently. So everybody might not be a visual learner. Some might not be verbal learners. Some might not like reading. Some might not like videos. So I would just say what I use, and I'll tell you like about some other resources that you can use, but you might have to make the decision for yourself what strategy you're going to use. So I know, okay, let me start from what I used. So personally, I went through the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner course. This, I think, the 7 hour one. I didn't exactly complete it, but I just got because I already had experience, like little experience of the cloud before I wrote the exam. So, but I didn't complete it. I just went scanned through it and just refreshed my understanding of some of the services, like particularly the IAM services. I wanted to be very sure of those ones. So I just went through the IAM chapter of the entire course. Went through that. I think I went through the complete part of the chapter, um, the complete chapter of the entire course. I also went through the I think networking. I also went through that as well. So I just use that to like jog my memory of some of the services and what they particularly do. Because some of these things, like I mentioned before, they can be very, very nuanced. You might have to you might have to understand it granularly to be able to be sure of what the services do. Because sometimes you can be very lost in this, like understanding the difference between some services and some other ones. Um, yeah. So personally, I went through the course first. Then I used past questions. So there was I think a playlist on YouTube that I used for preparation, for past questions preparation. But I wasn't able to when I say completely use it. I just used some parts of it. And I don't think it's available right now. I think it's been taken down. I'm not exactly sure why. But I used that playlist to prepare. And it really, really went a long way. So what I would say helped me the most was the past questions. So I did a lot of past questions, I did a lot of revisions, and the past questions playlist was very, very helpful to um, portrays the importance of utilizing the docs to be sure of your answers and to be sure of your um, to be sure that some of these services are not exactly clashing in their features, so you don't choose the wrong one. Because one thing about the exam is that sometimes they'll give you four options to choose only one, and then in those questions, some of those services might be extremely, some of those options might be extremely similar. So you have to be very, very sure that this one um, is exactly what you need. Because there are sometimes they might ask you what is most cost effective. So um, what is most cost effective to do in this situation? You want to do something like, let's say, um, you want to, okay, an example question is, for instance, you have data that you want to store on AWS, but you want to intermittently access that data. You don't want to access it all the time. For then they'll ask you what's the most cost effective. They will bring several S3 based services, and they will ask you to choose between which S3 based service is best for you. So one thing that the owner of the tutorial playlist always emphasizes on is using the docs to check. So if you have all these services and you need to check the differentiation between all the services, like why all these services are different and what peculiar one will be used for this peculiar use case, you cross check all of them using the docs. So AWS docs is what I'm talking about. So AWS has official documentation. I think it's docs.aws.amazon.com. I can't remember. Let me check. Yes, docs.aws.amazon.com. Yes, you're correct. So docs.aws.amazon.com, that's their official documentation. You can check that. And all their services are laid out, well laid out in their documentation. So, and another advice I'll give you is when you are using past questions, for every option, because of how similar they usually are, cross-check the difference, cross-check every single question, cross-check all the options in every single question with the docs. So you can tell for sure um, that this question aligns with that particular, sorry, the option you choose aligns with that particular option, with that particular question. Because sometimes it can be, the differences might not be exactly clear. So you have to use the docs to differentiate. So I've mentioned the course. AWS offers a course. AWS also offers past questions, but I think their official past questions are paid, so they are not free. So you might have to use other means to get past questions. I think people um, offer, I think there are paid past question offerings online. I think from Tutorials Dojo, you can get paid ones from them. There are many people, many credible people online that post past questions. Then you can check on YouTube. I think some people do also do like mock questions on YouTube. Then on Udemy as well. I think right now I'm preparing for the AWS Solutions Architect exam, and I use Udemy past questions. So I think Stephen Marek has a very good course and a very good past question, past question Udemy course on Udemy. So you can use that as well to prepare. You can use his CCP. In fact, like for anybody going through like AWS exams, Stevie Marek is like one of the, should I use the word goats in this space? So he's one of the best people you can access to prepare for the exam. So I've mentioned three things now, or four things. AWS has official past questions and courses. You can also find um, past questions on YouTube or online in PDFs or something. So many people do past questions online. You can also find paid ones with people like Tutorials Dojo. You can go on Udemy and find AWS courses to use to prepare. So yes, I think that's something you can utilize.
All right. So if I'm to summarize it, I think the first thing that you made mention of was taking the AWS course, but you made mention of something and you said you already had some knowledge on cloud before going ahead to do that course. So I don't want that particular statement to be overlooked, right?
Yes,
Because
yes, yes,
yeah, because some persons may just maybe start maybe one training like this. They've opened AWS console in 2 days, then they want to write the exam. They
yeah,
want to write the exam maybe on the third day or something.
yeah,
So you need to at least have some knowledge about what the cloud is. Then you can now go ahead to take maybe the AWS course like Osinachi recommended. Go ahead to use YouTube videos of people who have or who are talking about practice examination there, the practice test rather, and then you can also check out tutorials dojo, Stephanie Marek on
yeah,
Udemy. So those ones are paid courses, but if you want the free ones, you can check out the AWS platform as well for their own course. I think AWS Educate, AWS Q Builder. I
do that.
think
Yeah,
yes, I think those also will work as well, so you can check them out. All right, so I think Osinachi has actually put together points 5 and 6 where he had already mentioned the practice exam and mock test. But I think I still want to ask based on my experience. I think I shared it on LinkedIn when I was making a post for this event, how that I took my examination. I actually did a training, but the training was an advanced training. So it didn't exactly start me from the foundation of cloud computing. It just puts me at the middle and I was now trying to
oh,
find my way. After that training, I now said I'm going to take the certification exam. And to be honest, I finished that training, but truly I didn't really, really understand what cloud is. know how some persons can. I think I've heard somebody say it that this person wrote one of the examinations, but then I think was it the solutions architect examination, but then after that examination, the person was asked to explain what cloud is, and this person couldn't actually explain what cloud is.
Oh wow.
And I feel like that was actually where I was when I took that certification exam for the first time. I couldn't actually come out to say, oh, this is what cloud is or this is what cloud is not. Why? Because I just went head on with using the practice tests, and I was just,
Oh,
yes. And I think one thing that I know I'm good at is I know how to memorize. Like I think I sort of have I sort of have a photographic memory such that if I look at it, my head has snapped it, and then I'm able to to run with it. So what would you advise somebody people out there who actually want to take this examination and they're actually new to cloud computing? Would you advise them, okay, just go on with practice and tests, practice as much as you can, or what exactly, what would be like the pathway that they should follow properly that will aid them?
okay. I think people should understand first of all why they are taking the exam in the first place. Because sometimes it can be very the cloud engineering space, especially on social media, is very it's filled with a lot of information, and the information can be quite overwhelming, and it can be kind of misleading if you really think about it. So a lot of people place a lot of emphasis on certifications, and sometimes they tell you, oh, you can get a job in 3 months, you can get a job in 1 month, you can get a job in 2 months. Just start a course, get a certification, start applying for jobs. Um, I think people need to understand for themselves and really understand like that these things are not exactly as they seem, and it might not be as simple as just going to a course 3 months you're done. Um, I'm speaking from experience that sometimes these cloud concepts can be really, really difficult to get at first. Sometimes it can be like for months, I did not understand what serverless was. Like I could not wrap my head around the idea. Like I was like serverless, but this thing on servers. Like, how is it? I was really, really confused. So people should really understand that these concepts might be difficult, and with any not just cloud, but like anything, the concepts can be really, really hard to grasp. Like at first. So to tell someone like, okay, and to put that kind of pressure on people that they can condense all that information within 3 months. And some people even go as far as like even within the first week of starting AWS, they like you mentioned now, they just go straight on into the exam. So they have to understand why they are going for it. If the point of it is going and moving towards a job, I will really, really have to tell you that in the job market of today, even the CCP is nothing. If you really think about it, it's nothing. The CCP is just a way to illustrate your understanding of the cloud, um, and AWS cloud. So it's just like a foundational exam just to introduce you to what AWS is all about. It's not, I really doubt anybody will employ you for just having the CCP certification. Just having, I'm saying just emphatically because it's not about just the knowledge. The point of the point of the certification is to illustrate good understanding, and the point of applying for jobs is to solve problems. So the idea is somebody is employing you to use your understanding to solve a problem. If you don't have, if you have the understanding and you can't solve a problem, you are of no use to the system, you are of no use to the company. So the point of it is you are using that certification to get an understanding that will help you um, understand how to use the tools that AWS offers to solve problems. So the certification is not the entire story. There has to be practical knowledge that backs up that story. So I'm not saying people don't get jobs with CCP, but if you really look deeper at their credentials and the stuff that they've done, you will notice that there's something more. There's something beyond the CCP exam that they've taken. So I know a lot of people that just got jobs with just the CCP. Um, but they had projects, they had stuff that they've done with people, they've worked with other people, they've built stuff, they understand the cloud granularly, they've worked on a lot of other things aside the AWS CCP. Maybe they just took the CCP to like understand how certification, like AWS certification is, or how it's about, and just taking an easy way, like looking for an easy way into this ecosystem. For for just using the CCP exam to get a job, I think anybody telling you that is really deceiving you, really lying to you. So you have to back the understanding um, with practical know-how of the AWS services. So the certification is not enough. So that's what we want you to understand. Have practical understanding of the business. Be able to use the tools aside the fact that you understand what they are, understand the AWS ecosystem. You should be able to use the understanding to be able to solve problems for your employer. And that's what actually matters, not the certification. The certification matters, please don't get me wrong, because it's good to have it, but it's not the entire story. So yeah.
Awesome. All right. So now it's examination day. What are the examination day preparation tips? What should um what should someone be aware of? What should they get ready? Where can they take the exam? How can they take the exam? All the tips to just get one prepared for that day.
Okay. So I think I should start with the let's say let's say pay the payments for the exam, like how to pay for the exam. So I think you can use the Pearson View platform to pay. Um, you have to register online, then use their platform to pay. You can choose to write it at home with their own view platform, which you have to download on your system. But you have to make sure you have a very good laptop and very good network. And if you are in Nigeria, I don't think I don't think you should write the exam at home unless you have something like a router that is not MTN or is not Airtel or it's not any of the other it's not any of the other networks that we have because they might fumble and you don't want that. So I usually advise that for most people, some people have good network, but for most people, you should write at a person view center. So that's the other option, institution of person view center. You can choose to pay at the person view center, or you can pay online and then choose a date that you want to write at the center. Um, so yeah, then when you get to the center, I would advise, okay, before you get there, you should try as much as possible to not go with um, anything that you might not exactly need. I don't think they even allow you to go with pen or paper. So you can be as free as possible. You can go there just you to the exam. You don't have to go with anything. So because before entering the exam hall, at least from my experience, I had to not strip down, like not completely, but like you had to like check um, around me, but in my pockets and stuff to see if I was carrying anything in. So it's very, very much prohibited that you take anything into the exam, and you are highly proctored. Proctored is that there's someone there like monitoring your exam. Um, I think some centers also have like cameras. I'm not exactly sure, but you have someone or maybe some people um, in the exam hall with you that are monitoring you taking the exam. So um, if you are taking the exam at home, you have to be very careful that you are in an isolated place and there are no distractions. You'll be asked to scan your area to like check um, if there's any material that might affect the exam for you. Maybe you're carrying anything like a phone or another material, something like that. So you have to avoid that entirely. So your environment has to be very, very good and also well lit as well. Yeah, yeah, that's basically it. Try to, if you're going for the physical, writing at home, write in a place where um, you don't have any distractions, nobody's around you, and you don't have anything in your premises that might disqualify you from the exam. Then, if you're writing in a physical place, center, try to go there with as little as possible. You don't really need anything to write the exam. You just need a piece of paper. No, you just need maybe a pen, I think, to fill in details, or maybe that will be provided for you in the exam. But all you need is just your hand to click because it's a CPT exam, computer-based test. So you just click the options and then hit. So that's it.
All right, we have a question here. OVR says, writing the exams online, do I need to tender any ID card
Oh
and how
yes,
many?
yes. I used my international passport. Yes, I think you can also, if you're in Nigeria, you can use your NIN card, I think, or you can use your NIN paper. I think that works as well. So if you're writing in a physical center, you will need a card. But also, if you're writing online, you also need an ID card. So it can be your, but it's just one. Just one is okay. I think your NIN works and your passport. Um, I will actually advise that you use your passport because that's like the general one. Everybody accepts that. But your passport works, and you need it for the exam. Excuse me.
Okay, saying that passport now, I hope someone will not start thinking of how they will start going to get their international passports, and then they will now need to actually say, "Oh, I found a good reason to postpone this exam."
No. I think you can use NIN. I preferably
Yeah.
use your passport.
All right. Okay, OVR. I hope that answered your question. Okay, so we are almost wrapping up. So if there are any more questions, this is the time actually. Do well to ask the questions. Ask the questions as you have, right? Don't hold back. Like I said, you want to go back with some level of clarity. So please ask. So the final thing we'll talk about here is the next steps. So after they take this certification exam, what else should they look forward to, or what else should they be doing as cloud? I think our focus here especially is on people who are new to cloud computing. So if they've taken this examination, what else should they look forward to? What should they do afterwards?
Okay, okay. So I think I kind of already mentioned that before. So yeah, take on projects as much as you can. Um, Take on as much project as possible, even though they might seem foreign to you. One thing that I do is because of the fact that these things can be kind of foreign, I kind of walk backwards. So what I mean by walking backwards is because I know one of the major problems that we as cloud engineers, especially people that are coming new into these spaces, we usually don't have any idea as to the kind of projects we can embark on. So sometimes it can be confusing. How do I? Because for software engineers, it's kind of easier, relatively. I'm not saying software engineering is easy. I'm saying relatively to find projects. If you want to solve a problem, you can just use Python to solve it. If you want to solve a problem, you can use C++ or Java or JavaScript or any other language to solve it. But with cloud engineering, like what do you use? How do you solve a problem and stuff like that? So what I do, like I said, working backwards is I find projects online. I look maybe with ChatGPT, especially. I use ChatGPT a lot for this. So on ChatGPT, you can ask ChatGPT to generate beginner level projects, or you can even search online because there are a lot of people, even people host projects on GitHub. So you can go on GitHub and maybe enter a challenge. I think there's a 90 days of DevOps challenge online on GitHub. Put it on GitHub. You can access that and do the project from the beginner level to advanced level. You can take those projects, work on them. Even on YouTube, there are a lot of people that work on beginner level projects. You can use those projects at least to get a footstool as to how cloud projects look like, how DevOps projects look like, or what they look like. Sorry. Um, when you do a lot of these over time, and you do a lot of these over time, you start getting a kind of familiarity with how to go about particular projects. One other thing you can add to this is when you finish one project or when you are approaching one project, what you can do is you look at how it is done. Maybe you do it, you follow through with the process. Then when you finish the process, if you have any points where you are kind of confused, if you want to understand the underlying aspect of this technology. For instance, if you have a project that implements infrastructure as code and implements GitHub Actions or any other CI/CD platform, um, you can, if you see a part where they implemented that, you can use something like ChatGPT or even Google to research further into understanding. So you can take crash courses within crash courses. And what I mean by that is, for instance, if you are going through a project and there's Terraform, you can take a little crash course on Terraform and come back to the project. So you kind of understand some of the terminologies because it can be kind of confusing if you've not experienced them before. So if you hit that point and then there's some things you are getting lost on, maybe you can take a crash course, or maybe you can ask ChatGPT to kind of explain what this person is talking about. One thing I do is I do like explain this to me as a 12-year-old, to explain it as simply as possible. So some of these things like they kind of build your knowledge over time. You might not get everything at with your first project, you might not understand everything in your first project. Some things might still be lost on you. But then you can add functionality on top of those projects to like kind of get an enhanced experience with them. An example is if you implemented infrastructure as code, maybe the project was just infrastructure as code, you can add CI/CD to the project. You can add containerization to the project. You can add containerization orchestration to the project with Kubernetes. So what the thing, because most of the time, and this is something that a lot of people advise me to do, is that most of the time when you're employed, you will not be recreating systems or you will not be creating systems from scratch. What you'll be doing will be working on top of systems that already exist. So learning how to work on systems that already exist, like systems you've already built, then adding features on top will be a very, very good way of building experience. So when you build some projects, our advice I even start like while building experience, we should start applying for jobs. Honestly, like this is something that people tell people you have to be ready and stuff like that. And this approach should not be that based on okay, you're applying. Okay, I'm not saying you should not apply to get the job, but the idea is applying to have an understanding of the landscape, have an understanding of the interview process because interviewing is a skill and it is a very sought after skill in today's day and age because the process um can be very, very jarring for some people. They might not know that okay, since I know this thing, then I know it, and let me just enter this thing and just pass. But it goes a long way. Sometimes you need to develop skills like communication, how to communicate what you know, how to explain it to a non-technical audience. Because sometimes your interviewers might be non-technical. So being able to explain um, what you've been able to achieve, some of your skills and some of the projects you've worked on, and explain it to them in such a way that they can easily understand it. That's important. That's very, very important. Um, Presence during interviews, like being able to carry yourself, being able to talk without hesitations or without filler words, and being able to be confident in the work you've done and asking questions too. Some of these things are skills that you build over time while after doing multiple interviews. So you should get a thick skin because you will get a lot of rejections. You might that I'm not saying that that's like general experience, but that is the stereotypical experience. Most people get back to back rejections, and you should be able to weather that. So yeah, I think those are some of the tips I can give you. Projects, doing follow along projects first, then adding functionality on top, or recreating those projects by yourself, then adding functionality on top. Then doing multiple projects so that you can get a kind of full grasp of how DevOps projects look like. Then starting to apply for jobs and understanding the interviewing process, building interviewing skills, and yeah, the world is your oyster. I think that's how they say it.
Yes, so that was very exhaustive. And
Yeah.
so that is to say that after the certification, it's not to fold your arms and then stretch and say, oh, I have done it. Mama, I have made it. And then you now go and sleep. No, but just like Usinachi has advised, build those projects stretch beyond the normal, go ahead to even start preparing for the interviews as well. Apply for the jobs and prepare for the interviews. Don't wait until the job, maybe they reach back to you to say, oh, we would love to interview you tomorrow. That's why you now lose your sleep and say, ha, this night I must do all the practice. No, start practicing even before the job offer comes to you. Right? That way
Yeah,
you're going to be more prepared.
sorry, and I want to add some things to it,
Yes,
if you
please.
don't mind. Okay, so I also wanted to add that please try and join communities as much as you can, because sometimes working on your own can be kind of hard. Sometimes along the journey, and this is almost a rite of passage. I should say so. But sometimes you might start questioning, why am I doing this? Why is this? Like, what is the point of this? Like, you might start losing sight of why you even started in the first place. Um, so when you join communities, you can have people that you can talk to about these things. You can have people that kind of give you perspective, especially when the community is filled with people that are kind of experienced, people that have already been in the field for a while, that have experience in the field and um, have done a lot of stuff. People that you can reach out to and ask questions. These are the ways you can find peers, you can find accountability partners, you can find mentors. Speaking of finding people, I also advise that you go on social media and while building your project, you should be able to leverage social media by posting about stuff you're working on, posting about your projects, talk about like the events too that you attend. Okay, I'm going to talk about events, but yeah, social media. Um, be as open as possible, build in public because I won't say the space is saturated, but to be able to stand out a lot, you need to be able to be good at um, owning your wins and owning your stuff, being able to tell people what you've been able to work on and showcase it to the world because that's actually very important now. And you can leverage social media to expedite or let's say expedite or to speed up your job getting, let's say job getting process. Then another thing is events, maximize events as well. Go to events, meet industry leaders, meet people that are working in the same industry as you, meet people in other industries as well. And try to build friends that are working in the software engineering space. Because what DevOps and cloud people do is try to automate. That's the point. We are actually here to automate the software engineering pipeline, the software engineering process. So having friends with making friends with people that are into this space, like people that already do software engineering stuff, um, can help you get a kind of perspective and can also give you kind of insight as to what exactly you are doing. Try to tell them to send you their code so you can dockerize it. Tell them to send you their code so you can run the CI/CD pipeline for them. That's something I actually do. You can work with other people, like try to collaborate because that is what the real world experience looks like. You will be communicating with people. That's the idea of cross-functional teams. So you work with people on different things. You work with front-end engineers, back-end engineers, you work with product managers, product designers. So tell people to like work with people, work UX designers, ask them to do stuff with you. So then, yeah, just try attend events, post on social media about your work, and try to join community so you can have people you are working with as well. So yeah,
Amazing, amazing. I'm pretty sure that it's actually been an educative session rather, for a lot of people here who are looking towards writing the exams or people who are actually already starting out in the cloud space because Osinachi has actually shared a lot here. And thank you so much, Osinachi. All right, so
thank
I can look, I'm looking through the chat, but I've not seen any more questions. So that is already bringing us to the end of this session. But just before we wrap up, I think while I was preparing for this session, I saw a post someone made about um, an AWS challenge going on, and you're able to get a 50% voucher discount. So if you're actually looking at writing the examination and you don't have maybe all the money to pay currently for it, at least you can get a 50% slash. So the exam being 100 USD, that you have to pay 50 USD if you're able to meet up with the challenge and all. So I'm just going to share the link in the comments so you can actually go check it out and push for it. I believe it's something you would be able to do to get that 50% discount.
Yeah, I
All
think
right.
AWS is also running another, um, should I call it bonanza or promo? Yeah, I think they're giving 100% off on their foundational and some associate level exams, certifications. Like I think with AWS Educate and Skill Reader or Simulen, I think yes, Simulen and AWS Educate. So I think you have to join their emerging talent community, AWS
Emerging
emerging talent
talent.
community.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think it's free for anyone to join. So when you join, I think you have to complete the the introduction to cloud computing certificate, or not certificate, sorry, badge on the Educate platform. Then when you complete it, they will send you an invitation to the emerging talent community. Then when you join the community, you should be able to see a notification for your eligibility to participate in the promo or bonanza to get a free foundational exam certification, or not the certification itself, but like the voucher to get the exam for free, to write the exam for free, the foundational and the associate level. So yeah, I think some anybody that is interested can explore that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Osinachi. So go check out AWS Educate. I think I just got the link.
Yeah,
So you can also check it out. Right. So thank you so much, Osinachi. This has really been a wonderful time. And I'm
thank
sure
you.
everyone here must have gotten two or more, not one or two, two or more. All right. So thank you very much, Osinachi, and thank you all for joining in today's session. And I'm sure we'll have another session by next month again. So just keep watch on this channel. And yes, thank you, everyone. Success in your exam for those who will be writing soon. All
Yeah.
right. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for having me. Bye bye, guys.
Thank you.